Hello.
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 Oh, that's
Hello.
Recording
That's
in
a-
progress.
That's a fourth
She
hello.
said that. Okay.
Yeah.
Fourth hello. Who's that? Who's our fourth hello?
It's me,
Someone
Rocco Ya
approaches-
Boy, coming at you from which
It's-
podcast are we? National Cascade.
Coming at you from ASL, Always Strikes
And-
Last.
What?
The podcast that's also where you were in the 90s.
Yeah.
Miles, next you're going to tell me you moved out of the Pacific Northwest. What is this? I haven't
I
seen
know.
y'all in forever.
It's true. If it doesn't ring a bell, we're the podcast known for our crisp intros.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very decisive.
Okay.
Very concise intros that don't go on for long times.
No, that's fine.
No,
Never.
No.
We
Matt,
situate
you drinking?
ourselves.
Matt, are you drinking that corn red?
Yes, I'm drinking my corn red today.
Oh man,
Ah,
Nice.
there you go.
is the palate good in your palate?
Mhm, mhm,
Hey, it's not red 40, okay? That's the important part.
Yeah, it's very important. But yeah, we got Rocco on the show today. Thank you, Rocco, for coming on the show.
Oh my goodness, it's my pleasure. I missed y'all.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
been a while.
Likewise, Rocco. It's been too long.
Yeah. Oh
So-
God.
So what's going on, Rocco? We got Rocco over here from his YouTube channel.
Yep, of
Your boy?
the same name. Yep. It's your
Mhm,
boy. The just teaching, spreading the good word of how to play Warhammer to everybody that needs that voice of like, hey, I wish I had like a fun uncle that could go and explain all these complicated damn rules to me because I just don't understand anything. And
Damn.
and that's my niche. That's my niche. That's my thing. I go and I answer people's random questions throughout the internet over how does this work? What does that do? How do I get better? What's the big picture? What's the little picture? And we go on from there.
God, I wish I had that for like more topics. You know what I mean? Like it's very useful
Mhm.
to have it for Warhammer, but like, like
Yeah.
I love
Small
I love
business
like, a cool-
taxes. Oh, I
yeah, or
love that.
like
Oh,
what happens
God.
if a family member asks you for money? You know? Like,
Well.
you know, like,
That never
Just
goes
good life
great.
advice. Okay.
yeah, exactly.
It could
It would
be
be
okay.
It would be even better if you got to like the even smaller things, like can I park here? And then you have
Yeah.
your little, uncle that comes out and tells you the rules exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a sign back there that says no.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
up there.
Oh God, we need that in DC, man. There are some times where there's 4 signs on the same pole, and the road changes direction depending on the time of day. And then you also have to go, okay, I need sign A, and then I need sign C. But okay, it's also crap, it's after 5 o'clock. The road goes the other direction. I can't even. It's a one-way road now. What do I even do?
DC
Car.
is a strange place. I mean, just the way it's built like a spoke, right? Like you
Yeah.
can be in the
Mhm.
center of the city and you're like, a 2-minute walk from like a different street. But if you
Yep.
like keep going out in the wheel, it could be like the whole day.
Oh
And
yeah.
I remember, so I'm a Baltimorean. So I remember going to an interview. We did like a radio interview or something for one of the older bands I was in on a DC college campus, and we were an hour and a half late just because we got lost in the city. And this is pre Google Maps, right? So you're using MapQuest to get to the area.
Oh God, did you print it out?
Oh yeah,
You need
yeah,
to.
Of course, you
That's
printed
classic.
it
That's classic.
out. Yeah, DC is.
Oh yeah. And if you're
I
not used
kind
to
of missed the
traffic
MapQuest
circles,
era.
go on,
Oh,
Jack.
that's true. I was just saying, I kind of missed the MapQuest era, like that thrill of adventure where like it really could go sideways if that piece of paper like got lost or someone spilled a drink on it or it just was wrong.
Oh my
like I
God.
once,
Oh, when it's
Mhm.
just wrong, man. You just
I had
like
one. It was like 2 a.m. I was driving back from UMass Amherst, and I took a wrong turn. So then I had to like backtrack to where I thought I lost. I went off of the MapQuest directions
Mhm.
to try and get
that's
like.
exactly
But it was like,
what it was.
yeah, I didn't get home till like 5 in the morning
Man.
for
So
what
you
should have
lost the
been
thread.
an easy 45-minute drive.
Yep.
You know, like I was
Yep.
just
I have no idea where I
That's
am.
just it.
Did you go to UMass
Mm.
Amherst?
no, I didn't. I was just visiting like a friend.
I was gonna say I don't remember that. I've
But
been to
that
UMass
is the
Amherst though.
MapQuest experience, right? Like if you lose the
Yeah.
thread, even just a little bit, it's like you get let off the path by the will-o-wisp. They got you. You're in the land of the
Mm-hmm.
fairies now, or whatever. Like
Mm-hmm.
There
I
is no.
remember I was trying to get to some place, and it tried to have me take a right-hand turn onto an overpass, but it was not an exit.
Mm-hmm.
And I just
Mm.
knew then that it was not going to work, and it was exactly that.
See, the
There's no
hilarious
better
thing is
way. So
Google
an
will
hour
still
later,
do
I'm
that
like,
now, though.
Oh
Right.
Oh
yeah, yeah,
God,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
Yep. The
uh,
road didn't get updated because of construction. There's a whole new thing. You're just like, where the hell am? Take a
mhm.
left
oh, that
turn
is true.
now. That's a Jersey barrier.
So I just transferred phones, and I got my, and this is a little bit of foreshadowing here. I got my
Oh,
ninth game in about a week
oof.
last night. And as I transferred phones, I forgot to put Google Maps on my phone for going up to Congeezers, or I guess, you know, going down to Congeezers, you go south to Tacoma,
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
outside of where I live. And so I had to do all that by memory. And I was brought back to the good old days of not having a map, just moving with you in the screen. But I did make it
Mm-hmm.
there, and I promptly lost. So,
Oh no.
uh,
You see, that's some good foreshadowing for Rocco segments because just like
mhm.
Google Maps, where you had that blue line giving you directions and some comfort and surety of what you were going to do, the foreshadowing is you didn't have in the game. But Rocco's segment might have provided that metaphorical
There we
light.
go. Rocco
Indeed.
is the Google Maps of Warhammer.
So,
Yeah.
before we get into your segment, I do wanna hop into something here.
Mm.
And this will be great because I lost two games exactly because of the topic that we're about to go into. So I was an absolute madman last week.
Mm.
I
Hmm.
got 8 games in before my game last night. That was 2 RTTs in a row, Saturday and Sunday, and then 2 practice games against Matt Congeezer.
Okay.
You
Okay.
love to
And
see it.
That's too many games.
That's a
Like
it was
lot.
too many games. It
That's a
was
lot.
by 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 Sunday, my brain had completely shut down.
how's your lower back doing? I feel like
Oh God,
that's what's
yeah.
For
gonna,
some
yeah.
reason, it was actually okay. I was actually
Yeah.
doing
Oh.
fine.
Did you,
In the
Miles, the
zone.
pro the
were the
Heated
question is,
tables
did
seats.
high
Matt make
enough?
the
You didn't
pro
have to
move?
bend so much?
Oh no, I had to bend. It was just I guess the heated seats. The more time I'm spending my heated
Ah.
seats, you know.
There we go.
I think the question is, Matt, did you take the pro route and go Giants, or did you take the JV route, but knowing you had 8 games coming to do like any other army?
I played. So I did a switcheroo. I've been
Okay.
playing my vampires for a
Oh,
while
okay.
now. All Black Knight, Neferata, 2 zombie
Okay.
dragons,
We love
and
Neffy.
then Neffy's my favorite. And then dropping in some Vengi lords because they're cool, and I have that conversion, a little dragon.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
and
That was pretty sweet.
so I ran into a wall. That wall is named Seraphon with Croak and a Slan. That thing has beat
What?
me every single time. And
What year are we in?
I
That's still a
know
problem. What year are we in?
we are post OBR Null Myriad. That's what we are.
We're post OBR, right? OBR
Yep.
happened and then it happened again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I decided to switch up my
Mhm.
loves, and went
Okay.
back to my Beast of Chaos. And I've played the past 9 games with my
Mhm.
Beast of Chaos, a double Droger list. I played the same list for
Okay.
every single one of these games.
Okay.
2 units of 6 Dragon Ogres, 2 Shaggoth, a unit of 10 Gore, a Chariot, and a Brayherd Shaman, and a Cygor, just to try and get all the little tactics that I can there.
Hey
Mhm.
man, love a brave herd shaman. I love the totally not a heroic action to make a unit move to like pull them out of position. You got good tech
Mm-hmm.
there, man. You got good
Yep.
tech.
And
What
Mortal
what was your sub
Wounds.
That's pretty
faction?
sweet.
Oh, all herd, just to keep the
Okay.
gore in line.
Sure, sure.
Darkwalkers, I think, are probably a little bit stronger, but eventually,
Yeah.
what I'm going to do is move into the four blob of 20 gore each, just to kind of
Mm.
Hmm.
D3 +3 back in 5+ recursion, and just swamp and be annoying. That's the
That
idea
What's
for
works
the
that
next
out.
one.
crazy rule that they have? They outnumber someone, they get to give a unit. What?
Strikes
ASL,
last.
I think.
Always
Yeah,
strikes that.
On
Hey.
a
That's the name of an
3+.
awesome podcast too. Just hearing about that now.
Yeah,
It is hard.
Yeah, you should
I'll
go.
promote you guys so hard on your own thing. Don't worry.
I will say, Matt, just to interrupt for a second, it is really hard playing this game now because anytime I see a unit, no matter how good or bad it is, if it has an always strikes last effect, I'm like,
Mhm.
ooh, how do
I
I
have to
make
take that.
this everything?
Mhm.
Ah,
It's,
I mean, that's
to
what
take
killed.
this.
pretty true.
Yeah, yeah.
You
That's
gotta
what
stay
killed
on
rerolling
brand.
ones. They
Yeah.
got rid of it from the game and they disappeared.
That's true. That's very true.
Shout
So
out
now what
Jack
they should do
Ballard.
is auto wound on 6s. That's the
That's the new podcast.
Yeah.
That's the new. Okay.
That's the
Auto
new
wound on
hotness,
sixes.
I think.
Uh,
Maybe as a quick side plug too, I got to say, I think your choice to go Beast of Chaos is a good one, Matt. They're pretty inspired little army. Actually, the ASL RTT we just hosted in Milford, Mass, had a Beast of Chaos winner. Dale and Thoreau took it with them. They're real spicy against certain army battles.
Hell
yeah,
yeah.
they've got some good tech. I'm not gonna lie, I'm still salty that I can't can't summon. The army plays completely different than it used to.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's a learning curve, right?
Mhm.
Before it was survive and do objective work. Now it's crush and survive, which
gotta-
is hard to do.
And you got to wait for that extra run to kick in, you know?
Mhm.
It's-
Yep. So a lot of patient
It's-
play, which is how I like to play in the first place. But
Yeah.
So, anyways, both tournaments, 2-1. So that was a
Okay.
good showing. And then both losses were
Nice.
actually, well, the first loss was against a Sylvaneth player that I was very much not up to date on playing against Sylvaneth armies. So I deployed a little aggressively, moved a little bit forward, and then
Did they have Belthanos?
ambushed. They did have Belthanos.
Oh,
Belthanos
yeah.
and
Oh,
two of the flies.
Yeah.
Doubled up unit of the flies.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So very fast, very hard hitting.
What subfaction was it?
Oh, I can't remember. I think it's
Harvest
not on
Moon?
the.
Or
Yeah, okay.
It wasn't the special Belthanos thing. It was like a normal
No, it was
subfaction.
it was just regular.
It was a normal subfaction. Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Because I love the,
whatever
I love the
turns
army
them
of
into
now,
battle line.
but-
Whatever
Yeah.
turns the
Harvest.
flies into
Okay.
battle line. Harvest.
They also get a pre-game move there too.
Yep. So I was expecting
Really
that right in
nice
my
tech.
face, and
Uh-huh.
so I was like, okay, we'll deploy one unit of Dragon Ogres up front, and then one to come in on ambush. So that one I kind of gave away just with poor positioning, moving them just a little bit too far up to try and bait them. And then he was a 1-drop, so he gave me first turn, and I took it instead of leaving the other Dragon Ogres in ambush. So they got in, got deleted, and yada yada yada. So
Yeah.
and then the second loss was actually against a Carson Whitlock, who plays ogres. Amazing dude, has another podcast of his own that I'll link as well, in addition to Rocco's, which after you go like and subscribe to Rocco's, come and join ours, and then go to Carson's. Not necessarily in that order, whatever order you want.
And I will say real
Here's my
quick,
PSA out.
recently did hit 1,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel, so very happy
Woo!
with that. We got
Dude,
some
those
good
are
stuff
big-
going.
Golf clap.
Yeah,
Golf
absolutely.
clap.
Big numbers.
Golf
Nice.
clap.
Let's do that.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
I think we've got 3, and it's just the 3 of us.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Jokes on you.
Hey,
I'm one
it's
of
a
those
party.
3. So someone needs to go check themselves.
Yeah,
right now.
yeah.
I'm gonna say it's me.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyways,
No.
so Carson's was a great game. Had the potential to be a great game. But that was exactly my 7th game of that week. And my brain shut down after going in and just kind of laying waste to a center of his field after he left an area open. Just was not on point. So part of that being, deployment, whatever I had in reserves, and the other part just not picking battle tactics correctly. But
So, 7th game, this was the middle round of the second tournament?
yes, sir. Yes,
Very
sir.
good.
Yes, sir.
My math was on point.
Middle games are always the hardest for me.
They are.
That's normally when I go, ooh. But anyways, great game nonetheless. But ran into a very nice person who listens to our podcast, so I'm going to call him out because that's what you
excellent.
do. Kenrick, thanks for saying hi.
Nice.
I know
Nice.
I'm an awkward person,
Awesome.
both on the podcast and in life, so I really appreciate it. So outside of that,
Big thanks to Kenrick. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
yeah, he was playing Dill's Skittle Squigs, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Very nice
Love those
person.
squigs.
Yeah. Go listen to Rocco. Him and I were talking. I think I just clapped into the mic, so my apologies. See, there's my awkwardness.
Didn't sound
Yeah,
too
go
bad.
listen to Rocco.
Didn't sound
He's Rocco's a great asset for you. So yeah, so 2-1 for both of those. Both
Very
games,
respectable. Good.
Outside of the game with Carson, were really mine to lose.
Okay.
So could have been, yeah, 5-1. Really, had I thought it out. But then again, just got completely smacked down each time I run into Seraphon. And I've realized part of that is my list building, because I don't have enough stamina to take 46 mortal wounds a turn from a Croak list.
Yeah.
And then the other piece is that when I'm deploying, I still can't figure out, even though I have a 2-drop, how I want to bring in units to have higher impact for the first 2 turns. So those are the next things that I'm working on. But this is also a disguised segue. And we've lost.
Where is the segue going, man? I think I know.
So this brings us to our topic of the day, which is, how do we get better at this game?
Well, all right.
To be somewhat fair to the podcast, that's sort of a disguised theme.
Yeah.
For everybody.
Yeah.
And
it's, you end up making your own channel or podcast, whatever, for yourself to get better too. Forget if there's listeners, that's great, but sometimes you just need a sounding board of a couple people in a room, and you trick them to do a podcast together. Like, hey, man.
Hey.
See,
as they
that was
say,
the
wise.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, as they always say, why scream into the void when you can scream into a mic?
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And the entire point of this podcast was to get you on here after like 2 years, just so you can tell me how to actually get my deployment correct.
Oh,
and, write my list better.
There you go.
So
I'm here for you, man.
That was
You're
the whole
here
scheme.
to transform Matt from a Beast of Chaos player to a Beast of Chaos.
Yes.
Let's go.
So one of the things I wanted to start out with was, how do we build lists? What are the underlying base mechanics that you use when you're looking at the game to build your lists? Yeah. And I figured we start there. Normally Miles comes in with a witty thing, but it's a vacant screen right now. I presume he's got a couch.
Yeah.
So
he's nearby. I sense his spirit.
Yes. So when you're building lists, Rocco, what do you start out with?
What I start out with is, and again, this is with the idea that this is for a competitive build.
Indeed.
I think so.
Let's just, we set our expectations. That's honestly, even with a competitive thing, I'm setting my expectation. What do I want to achieve? What do I want the list to achieve? How can I achieve it? Is it achievable within the faction that I'm picking? I know with what do I want to achieve? Of course, is going to be, I want to win my game with the new General's Handbook or the new thing that came out, or in my meta, someone just came up with this crazy new list, or there's a lot of shooting, or there's a lot of magic. There's a crow floating in a chair behind me, just dumping mortal wounds out.
He will do that. That is a Croak move.
It is.
His MO.
And sometimes we have to deal with the croak in our lives before we croak. And I'm trying not to croak on my game. So what the first thing is, what do I want to do? I want to go and say, make a Beast of Chaos list, right? And I want to, with my collection, sometimes you have pet units that you want to do good with. Sometimes you want to go build the filthiest thing that will win you no friends at a game store because you want to win, and you'll buy them beer after if they drink. And all those things are great, but if you don't have the basics of a good list, you're going to fall flat on your face. And for me, these list basics are: I need units that can score me points, because this is a game. It's done by objectives. This isn't kill points. This isn't the old world. This is I got
killing gets you nothing.
no.
And in fact, I don't know if you guys are looking at those new Nurgle lists with the Glotkin and stuff. Like
they do nothing.
That's a pure jujitsu list.
Mm-hmm.
They are not going to hit you at all. It's just purely using your own momentum against you.
Yeah.
Right.
Listen, Nurgle wins by rolling 5-up ward saves, fleshy abundance. The word yeah. And
I've seen a little of that before.
And you're I'm not in here with you. You're in here with me catching my disease right now.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna mortal wound you eventually. We'll just have to wait till we get there, but I will get there. And when you're picking your army too, it's just, how do they like to win? I need to be able to stand on objectives and score points. I need to have some kind of output somewhere. It doesn't need to be overpowering. It could just be Nurgle doing mortal wounds by outlasting you. How do I apply the most things? How do I get the most sixes to hit to get these disease points? Are you running Blight Kings because there are a bajillion attacks? Are you running the little freaking demons that are everything? Plague bearers. Thank you.
Plague bearers.
Are you bringing in some clan pestilence stuff to be to be like
bodies.
Or plague sensor bearers will melt a lot of things still. Where are you looking at? What are you trying to bring in here? But you need some way to do some damage. For me, I consider that a hammer. You need troops that can be anvils that can soak damage while being on objectives. You need things that you can trade back and forth. And by trading, I mean like they're going to die horribly. Hopefully they kill something or they do something for me before they die. That is the trade I'm making. That is the opportunity cost that will be paid for having my little 70-point unit of Aetherwing stand on an objective as an ally in like my Deepkin army. And sure. I also know that they have to shoot the nearest enemy unit. And for me, if that's my cheap little birds, and my 400-point turtle is safe because they have to go and dump 500 points worth of shooting from Fusiliers into a 6-wound, no-save unit of birds. But yeah, man, they traded out beautifully. That's great. Take some roast chicken. Here you go.
Yeah. But that can also be, Rocco, like your 5-man unit of Chosen, YOLOing across the board to get in and kill a bunch of really juicy heroes, knowing that they are absolutely dead the next turn, but you killed those heroes, and that's what mattered.
Exactly. That could mess up all the synergy. Yeah. I'm sorry, I talked right over you.
Oh, no worries. I'm just a big fan of YOLO Chosen, so I couldn't hold myself back. Also, a problem sometimes with YOLO Chosen.
That's why you go YOLO Therodons. They're YOLO Chosen at a discount.
Ooh, I like this.
Oh, they really are.
This.
You never even worry about it. Go in there, have fun at your axes, 150-point guys. I got more.
So,
yeah.
So hammer and anvil. What do you have to get the job done? And that's holding
cheap
objectives
screens too.
Cheap screens.
And again, screening too for this, because I'm big on definitions, and a lot of things, whether it's hobbies or even at your work, you've got the all the different I'm going to say dogma, but that's not the right word. But you've got all these words, these buzzwords that are just like, oh well, everybody knows what synergy is, everybody knows what this is, but if you're brand new, you have no idea what you don't even know. It's that Dunning-Kruger effect of the big dip of like, oh, I'm doing so great because I'm doing so great because I know what actually synergy is. So for me too, with screens, again, there are these cheap units that will take the impact from either enemy shooting or charging, and they'll allow my more important units to me at the time to live. Again, they could take an objective cheaply for me and then die horribly off in a corner somewhere. While my main thing in my army that gets my work done can get its work done.
Sure. I also think, Rocco, that there's you can group screens in with a unit like control units.
Yes.
So your Techless, your Bellicor, anybody who's gonna like lock something down and be like, that thing doesn't get to do what it wants to do. I'm sure I could come up with other examples.
Listen, you're not living until you have 600 point, or is it 600 point? Like 6 models, about 100 each, of Varangard protecting a bunch of Chosen. You're like, yeah, if they just die on that objective, if they fight twice, you can fight into them. It's okay. But the other thing too is throughout the course of a game, sometimes a unit's role will change. And are you at list building bringing things that can fill multiple roles? Sometimes you need a unit to make a stand on an objective or you're just screwed. Sometimes you need to go and superpower a unit of clan rats with dreaded death frenzy and any other buff you can in order to actually do some damage. And that's where list building could be so intricate and you can get in the weeds of it, or it could be as simple as you need it to be.
That makes a lot of sense.
I, for one, generally like to choose units that have multiple uses in multiple phases, usually. I like that toolkit because I like to be responsive in a lot of play. Which is why the monsters are always fun, because you have end of charge phase stuff that can bleed into combat. Cygors lately have just been the most amazing thing because they have an interaction in every phase.
What a world!
And I love that. Like that kind of stuff always appeals to me. But I do want to say, instead of calling it Dogma, we should probably just call it Alanis Morissette.
Jargon was the word I was coming for. I found jargon eventually, but I was just on a roll.
Hey, it was good. It was a nice play.
Thank you.
But I'm glad we got there eventually. I would say that
Rocco's brain had one hand in its pocket. Yeah.
I have similar, I think, viewpoints to that. In terms of like how you go about the list building. But the one piece I don't think we've mentioned yet that I'm curious about your thoughts on, Rocco, is what about the chicken dance? That is battle tactics and battle tactic planning, because I'm always thinking of that too.
That's the thing. We live in a world where that has to be a thought. That has to be a thing. And, some lists and some factions, you have to bring certain units if you want to score your 5 battle tactics. It's a reality we live in where it's a balancing mechanic for these different armies. And like Daughters of Cain are all going to have the harpies that throw the spears so they can go and do the battle tactic where they drop down and shoot and then they move. Sometimes, especially for tournament play, you do have to keep that in mind as another dimension of things. Like for me, with Stormcast, some of the battle tactics are just ridiculous, and then some are, well, if you're keyworded to be a Draconith or Dracolith or anything but a Dracolion, which is the one that I actually use and love, it's kill something with a dragon. Either Dragon Ishmount or something. And I'm like, well, I have Dragon Lions. Does that count? And it's like, well, unfortunately, no, you got to go bring out Fulminators or Tempesters or the Dragon Knights or one of the big name dragons. Karazai's my boy for a very long time. And that very much can affect what you're doing. And that opportunity of, well, I got this unit, but can it score me a battle tactic? Can I build my army with the idea that I can do a battle tactic turn 1 if I'm given first turn? Or is it just I pray that I have the spell cast and not get it unbound? But that's deployment me problem. That isn't even list building yet, because not all armies have wizards. So then you got to go.
That seems like a skill issue.
Yeah.
I don't got enough fucking nerds. Can I curse actually?
Oh yeah, totally.
Oh great. But yeah, no one's reading the damn book these days. No, they just want to go swing with an axe. Swing with an axe. Gotta be living in the moment, man.
Look, literally every army could have a wizard if they thought about it hard enough.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
So that brings up an interesting point. Not the wizard part. Like wizards. Yeah. Sorry, Fire Slayers, you're back on the shelf for a while. But
it's full of jocks, man. They just it's horrible. They need a nerd.
Short naked. It's just one giant locker room. That's the Fire Slayers army. But anyway, so the so when I've been building lately, and I'm still gelling, it always takes me a long time to get to the point where I get everything locks in, right? Because it's got to lock in your mind when you're playing the list. It has to be natural, for me at least. So what I've been ascribing to is being able to get at least 4 of the army book battle tactics. Okay. 3 is generally what I'll accept that I should be able to do easily, hands down, but aspire for 4 book battle tactics from the army, and then at least 3 or 4 from the GHB, regardless of what it is. So when building lists, that's why I have a chariot for throwing away if I need to, or getting a battle tactic if I need to, right?
Yeah.
Keeping a little bit of leeway to kind of just be like, okay, well, if that plan doesn't work out, I've already got this other battle tactic that I can use, yada, 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 right?
I definitely think
that's an interesting thing. Oh, Miles, go ahead. Sorry.
I definitely think 7 is the sweet spot there. You want to have a 7 that are like, you get these most of the, like, if you have to go for it, you get it, most of the time, you 7 that you're very rare, unlikely to drop.
Yeah.
I'd even go farther with that and say how many, I want, like, out of my 7 or 8, I want at least 3 that I can do without having to interact with my opponent. Again,
ideally.
As bad as it sounds, I don't want my opponent to play the game. But if we're doing in a tournament thing, I need some that I can just control by existing. Whether
I feel like that's the secret sauce, isn't it? It's like Blood Bowl rules. Like if you have to roll a dice, you're already in bad territory.
Yeah. Oh yeah, my God.
Yep. Which is where Master of Magic seems to be the thing that I always gravitate to now for any of the.
Oh sure.
Is it when you're choosing your
command traits?
Command trait.
It's funny. Yep. It's funny you raise. Master Magic. Sorry, I thought you were saying magical dominance. My brain was going a different track, but I was going to say I feel like people rely over much on magical dominance, which is so frustratable against certain matchups. But Matt,
but that's exactly why Master of Magic is so important for magical dominance, right? So that first turn, unless you're up against Croak and Matt, but
Matt just gave us all the finger for everybody at home.
That was for Con Geezer. That was for Con.
Not for me. Not for me. I haven't heard him in a while. That's just.
It is funny though.
Go ahead, Jack.
Oh, sorry. I think my time delay from Type A is very crazy, my mic. But I was going to say, I just think it's so funny because like I also go into this mode where I start thinking of battle tactics that'll make sense for the army. But I also try to say, when will this definitely not work, even if I'm relying on it? And it's like those 20% of the matchups which will stop me, or those 20% of the missions that will stop me, I keep gravitating towards. Like, I guess still think of the Master of Magic example, the one you were mentioning, I think, Matt, about like Croak, right? Or like Croak or Corn, right? Like if Corn comes in and somehow gets 2 points before I go, I no longer have that as a first turn option. If I don't have a backup, I'm just down, or whatever.
Let alone they have a board wide unbind, and you're just like, I could reroll my casting, but then I can't use primal dice on a reroll.
Sure.
So it's again, where am I in that opportunity cost of, is it worth it for me to take this, or do I go and look in my list building for something to give me just straight pluses to cast? Or like for me currently with Cities of Sigmar, pending the battle scroll that'll blow it all up, I keep going back to Hallowheart for the 3 dice casting, because it just starting off, I don't care if my wizard hurts itself. I have a command core. I'm a dirty command core player. But I know, but I only bring one, and it's literally just for when the Hallowheart Wizards hurt themselves rolling a 10 or higher on the damn thing.
That's okay. Then you're forgiven because it's only one.
Yeah, and then because it's my Warforger blowing himself up for the Mortal Wound spell for all my Fusiliers. So hate me still, hate me still. And then there's a spell called Pall of Doom that I just never leave home without on a battle mage that stops unit from being able to issue or receive commands.
And that one's gross.
Yep, 24-inch range because when you choose a battle wizard now, they come with like little different trinkets, and I always take the one for the extra range on the spell.
Oh, like that yeah, that was really awesome.
Yeah, so it's like if later episodes we'll probably talk about deployment, but one of the things is I can stop a Catacross from giving the army-wide +1 to save and +1 to hit bullshit. I can pick one unit. I'm like, listen, I need to kill this. In my battle tech that I pick in my list that I'm building, to bring it back to that, I'm taking the spell because there's a battle tactic of like, I need to go and kill this hero and kill this unit, kill this thing. They killed my general. I need to kill it. Well, if I have a tool in my toolkit to be like, hey, you can't all out attack, you can't all out defense, you can't redeploy when I go to charge you and fuck you up, you can't do all these buffs, you can't issue an aura out to re-roll saves or whatever, I'm taking that tool. I'll
I think another fun thing with Magical Dominance and thinking about whether you're going to use it or not has to do with how many drops you are, and how likely it is you are to go first.
Yeah,
like so. And I'll admit I'm very spoiled playing orcs right now because in general I have to actually pick 2 battle tactics over the course of the game. The rest of them just automatically happen. But yeah, so I'm 11 drops, and I'm a combat only. Everybody makes me go first. You'd be crazy not to make me go first.
yeah.
So yeah, you just backboard the one wizard, you cast the one spell, call it a day.
Yeah, give me my 2 points, dude. Give me my max score round 1. Cool. I got 11 units. I don't care if I lose 1. They're gonna hold 1, 2 more battle tactic. Thank you for my easy 5 points.
Yeah.
And the other cool thing too is you have so many units, you can see how the whole army deploys before you put your important shit down.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no,
I'm make sure
save that little wizard for the last.
I'm dicking around deploying gut rippers and like little screens here and there. Oh man, it's delightful. It's a great time.
Yeah.
See, I like that methodology, right, Miles? So in theory, like, you have your 11 drops, you put your wizard in to make sure you get matched with dominance, and if by some strange twist of fate, they really want to stop that and see it coming, you've also put your rest of your stuff in a way that you're going to punish their army if you try to overextend to be able to put something in mind range.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't want me to get a double turn on you. I'm a combat army. I'm great at double turns.
Yeah. Orcs live for that.
Love that. Oh man, and then and they go off on their own.
You're only one mighty destroyer away too, right? So
exactly,
it makes it even kind of scarier to push somebody that far out. But the other thing though is like, if not relying on magical dominance, or if you've got to set up against Khorne or Croak or whatever, maybe a Teclis, we may see him come back.
I hope not.
Yeah,
that's another. Yeah, right. That's another thing that like I'm trying to. I try and build into the list, which is okay. If I can't get that, what's another one that I can get guaranteed? Right.
Yeah.
What is a fallback battle tactic if magical dominance can't go off?
And also,
it's such a tricky question.
Oh, yeah. But also to go back to this is all stuff that you have to consider in list building. We've talked about deployment, we've talked about magic phases, we've talked about combat and shooting and all these different things. These are all things you need to consider before the game even starts, and you're like, okay, what sub faction? What am I doing here? What units do I like? What units don't I like? But I'm trying to min max my thing to be this dirty comp player. You know what? It all starts on War Scroll Builder or an app on your phone, or God forbid, writing it a piece of paper on
old school
pencil.
Hey, man,
yes.
it's old world right now. That's the old
Yeah.
world method.
Yeah.
Oh no, there's
I'm pretty sure it's a rule in that game that you have to write all your lists by hand on a piece of computer paper in the illegible
Mm-hmm.
font.
there's
And it
there's
has
an
to have
old
the little
world
tear
builder.
off strips.
Just,
I'm
just
a
throwing it out there,
teenager
Matt. There's
again.
an old world builder. It's online. We'll link to it at the bottom of the
It's
podcast.
I
the old world
have it.
builder is
I
amazing,
refuse. I refuse. I refuse. I want to forget that 6-point upgrade for that magic item or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think they were like 20 or 40 now. But anyways,
But
yeah. So building. Do you? One of the other things that I've noticed come up a lot in a lot of the higher scoring placers is there's at least one high movement or teleporting unit or a way to get teleport.
yes.
I have spoiled myself with beasts with ambush to be able to get that. But one of the things that we always see is being able to get into a back corner for what is it? Intimidate.
Sure.
Intimidate the invaders to be outside of your deployment zone with at least half your army, or slightly more than half. Yeah, whatever it is.
Or surround.
Surround
There it
and
is.
destroy.
Destroy. Yeah.
Yep. Be
And
on the
so
different board edges. Yeah.
that's a big setup, and always thinking when building the list, how can you get two tactics in a row from chaining off of one another, which
Sure.
those two generally lead into each other.
They do a good job. And what's tricky is on a third of the maps are corner deployment or inky corner deployment.
Yeah.
And on those corner deployment maps, it is hard to get it's hard to get to that third edge.
Yes.
Unless you have something that's unreasonably fast or can teleport.
Or
so
ambushes.
if you need to do that, if you're in a situation where you got to do that turn one, you're going to find it difficult.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think there's a trap there if you don't think about that, sort of combination, you might say, oh, I have a couple of fast units, 12 inches is enough, fine. Then you hit that one time you need it and you're on that mission, and that's where you lose the 2 points or someone does in a big tournament.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I noticed, I've started to build into lists, or started doing when building lists, is not relying on any charge. Anything that is, let's say, like in the Beast of Chaos book, right? One of the battle tactics is get units stuck in with your general first or second turn, and that's the only time you can get it.
Yeah.
That's actually a much harder thing to do. So I don't rely on building my list for that. In the same way that, like, if you're going to retreat to and charge to, that's a situational battle tactic that you should know is always available, but not necessarily something you should decide you're going to build for. Whereas that one's much easier to build for because literally you're going to be stuck in combat at some point. But
I feel like the retreat to charge to, if you're playing an MSU army, I think you can build for it.
Yeah.
Whereas like somebody like Mega Gargants, they're going to have a hard time retreating to charge to like that's a very situational thing that happens.
Yeah. But like even with off the top of my head, like my Deepkin, having if you're not going the full the hordes of Namarti that could die to a stiff breeze, if you are bringing some eels or sharks as well, especially if it's the unrendable eels, you can have them in there. They'll survive a combat generally, and then retreat out, then come in with a king and a turtle and a 1-2 punch, and that's been helping me out since second edition. So I saw that battle tactic pop up, and I'm like, oh my god, I love this.
Yeah,
this is nice. This is my shit right now. What are we doing here, fellas and ladies, and everything else?
I can totally see that. But I think there is something to like those unreliable situational battle tactics, where maybe if you have the right units, you can craft a situation, if you're talking about the eels, to happen a bit more regularly. But sometimes it just feels like something can go wrong. I mean, I think of that one. Yeah. I think about the one where you're supposed to it's a maelstrom charge in with a unit and a character, and have at least
There's
one of them.
So many ways to fail that.
Yeah, like someone pulls the right model, you're done. Or whatever. But I mean, they're good to have. I guess maybe in that list building sentiment, like if you have units which can reliably hang in to find those opportunities, as valuable in of itself, especially its current GHB, where it's a little thinner on the easy ones if you don't have good book tactics.
Yeah.
But I like where your head's at with that. I mean, I'm curious, Rocco, when you're thinking about the value you give to that unit. Like if you're looking at something for your list, you're saying all this can do is give me a battle tactic. It'll have no effect on the board state really, and no effect on my opponent's army or their ability to stop me. To use an extreme example. Like, what's that worth? I mean, when is the cost for that too much? Or is it ever too much?
So that's the interesting thing of this, where I mean, we haven't even covered grand strategies in list building yet. We haven't even covered heroes. We haven't covered spells and things. Battalions, even if you want to do endless spells, if you're trying for triumphs or not, because the emphasis this general's handbook is there are armies like Big Wa that they can reliably score 5 battle tactics. There are armies like cities that can reliably score 5 battle tactics. I have a thing where all I have to do is have a command corps guy go walk onto an objective you had. I don't interact with you. I just have to outnumber you now on the objective.
We the Zinch guy around here, we joke that he'll walk up, shake your hand, and be like, "Cool, I just scored 13 points."
Yep.
I just got all my battle tactics in my
can
grand
you catch
strat.
me?
It was that easy.
Catch me if you can, man. And then I had a Zinch guy that was I had one that I did this to a new guy and a guy that was cocky. So 2 different times this happened, where it was they had Kairos and they had to do the one where it was get 3 spells off. And I was playing my Stormcast, like, oh, they just melt the mortal wounds, whatever. I'm like, I have a Knight Incanter. So, oh, that's cool, man. Like, I know what Stormcast is. I know what Stormcast. I'm like, he's an auto. Okay.
Look, you explain it to him. There's nothing you can do at that point.
Yeah. Like, buddy, you put your wizard on front for the thing so you can cover all my. Oh, well, what are you gonna? That's a 100-point wizard. I'm gonna go. I'm like, okay. What's your first battle tactic? I'm gonna do 3 spells. Auto unbind. Fuck. What do you want, man? I built it into my list to stop magical dominance, to stop this kind of shit, to stop you from having to kill something with a mortal wound from a spell. That's a battle tactic too.
Yeah.
And it's I got to protect myself because so many people brought Spell Portal for so long in their list to go and power project out a Hand of Dust or whatever. I got to build for that. And if it's so, not only am I in my mind being like, cool, but to answer your question, like, is this one thing going to go and get me my 2 points and I'm going to be happy? Because so many of the armies go, hey, yeah, I'm scoring 30 points. I got which are 5 battle tactics and a grand strategy for those counting at home. And then it's hold 1, hold 2, hold more. You're trying to deny them 3 points, and realistically, they're going to hold 1. So really, you're trying to stop the hold 2, hold more of these battle plans that are the common scoring for all these things. And you're just like, where does that line break? Well, what if I actually can just bring something just to be like, no, I'm going to stop you from scoring 2 points. And then, you know what? After that, as long as it's outside my deployment zone so I can score intimidate the invader, I don't care. So that
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's present in my mind, man. To me, it is a Knight Incanter and an Order army is one of the best allies that you can take.
Yeah.
Just as in general. And I look for that. Also, when I'm building lists too, and I'm hearing these top armies doing all these things, and if I'm not playing that faction exactly, I go like, okay, I may not 1-to-1 have the units that they have in my army, but do I have things that do similar stuff to them? Do I have something that can teleport or move quick like a cavalry unit to go and score these things? Do I have something that can do impact hits like ogres for mortal wounds? Do I have a way to go and get a ward save like death armies or have the recursion of 200 zombies? Shout out the Litter Death Brendan Melnick, who did that in a team tournament and got it immediately nerfed. He got his golden ticket, though. But he did it at a GW event, stared the guy in the eyes like, yep, 200 zombies, and pushed them up the board. These are a problem. And he brought like 50 more, too, apparently, to like my buddy to because they can go oversized at the time. I don't even know if that still can because that list just scares the hell out of me. I don't want to look at it.
You'd love to see it. I know other people don't, but
Rocco, we do a lot over here with with the world style scoring where it's literally
Yeah.
points delta, right?
Hmm.
So it's about what's the delta. So any tactic you can deny is a point for you.
Yeah.
If you think about it that way. I mean, I know that that doesn't completely equal
Is
or
my
work
boy
out.
Jeffrey Nijhoff from the Dutch squad there still big with the Worlds group and all the?
There's too many people from too
Okay,
many
that's
countries
fair.
for me to know all of them, but
That's
I'll
fair.
keep an eye out.
Okay, I love him to death. He's a in his day job. He's a kickboxer, but he also was one of my students back in the day, and he's just ugh. So I love all the world shit. Let me
But
tell
yeah,
you.
but if you think about it in
But
that perspective, anytime you can anything that gets you 2 points and anything that
yep,
makes your opponent drop 2 points,
it's huge. It's a huge
that's
swing.
huge.
Mhm.
So
And
Some ways
again,
that's why
games
that
are.
command core is so good.
It is. It is, Jack. And when games now are the closest they've ever been, and as much as people want to complain online about the state of the game, things are unbalanced and things, so many armies are in that fat middle now. We can see things from the Honest War Gamer, from GW's own stats, from I think it's Facehammer. There's so many wonderful channels and wonderful people out there compiling all these stats for all these different tournaments. And we even can see it on Best Coast pairings. They have
mhm.
a thing they do. So many armies are so close in their win loss rates here and their percentages that if you did want to go and look up, be like, hey, what is Seraphon bringing? They've got a really strong mage. They're bringing a second one. They've got these units that can go and be throwaway things. We've got all this good summoning. How can I bring that into my own gameplay? Do I have the similar units to pull off that style of list? And if I don't, do I have something that can counter it? Do I have something like a Knight in Cancer that I can bring up and just be like, no, I can only do this once per game. I might bring two of them to try to make me live through a turn. But what does Seraphon look like if you're Starborn, where you're not that -1 damage characteristic coming in, where they don't get their 40 mortal wounds off a turn because you stop the two spells that do that?
Mhm.
You know, all of a sudden there are a bunch of skanks that die really easy,
Yeah,
or you
yeah.
or you're
They're
shooting
just
Croak and his Temple Guard dead.
they're
Yeah.
sitting there behind their temple, and that's about it.
Hmm.
There's like two guys in a chair.
Yep.
And to like roll back to like the thought process there of like how even the game is, like we just
Mm-hmm.
last episode we just broke down LVO, and these were all basic lists. We didn't have any like real talk about like, oh, look at this amazing combo. It's like
Yeah.
that's a pure like statement of the state of the game. That
Which is really cool to see.
yeah.
You
Um
know, this is
so
the healthiest. And people are naysaying, but this is the healthiest it's been in this competitive meta. Yes, cities is an outlier right now that will be addressed and potentially nerfed to the ground. And I'm running a series right now myself, which is my training arc of being a top cities player again. So I'm really excited for that nerf because all the tryhards are going to hop off cities. I'll probably have
Nice.
an easier time doing my ITC points that way.
yeah.
But that's the bright side of
I
that.
think
I'm
there's
looking for
something
that
to that,
silver
Rocco. There's
lining.
definitely something to
I mean,
that. Yeah.
outside
Yeah.
of like personal preferences for play, I had this conversation after having like a really tough game with Matt last night with the Beast of Chaos, like
Yeah. Into
um
the ogres.
into Starborn
Which one?
Seraphon.
Oh, into Starborn again. Okay. Yep.
Um and like the game is probably the best it's ever been. Like everybody's gonna feel like the game sucks when you get hit with
Mhm.
Blizzard and it's 20
Yes.
wounds. It's just gonna feel like that.
Oh
But that's
yeah.
because you weren't prepared to be able to take down Blizzard that one time when it came at you. Which,
Mm-hmm.
incidentally, every time he does that to me is at least 18 wounds. But, I'm
Oh,
not going to whine about
Hey.
it too much, just a lot. So,
I think you're always entitled, Matt, to one Blizzard wine, and you've been Blizzarded. It's
Oh
not
yeah.
cool, even though
Yeah.
it's
No,
very
that's
um,
cold.
totally reasonable.
so,
That's. Ugh.
so as we kind of wrap this up for this time, the
Mhm.
main takeaways: find out, what what knocks people out as you're
Yep.
building your list, right?
Yep.
Um, make
How
sure
do you?
that you you got seven or more objectives? Were you saying 8?
You could like 7 to 8 battle tactics. Yeah, you could.
That you feel good about, they're
Yeah.
like, I can get this more often than like, not even more often than not. I can get this 90% of the time that I go for it,
Dip into those book battle tactics. If you're Sylvaneth, you're like, cool. I can do the one where I teleport out of combat. I can kill someone near a tree. That's 2 right there. And then you're just looking for 2 more from your book, and then a few more you can do from the general's handbook.
So like a path to 5 and a little bit of insurance.
Yeah. Make sure you've got your sort of core groups, your hammer, your anvil, your screens, the sort of main groups. And then, your control pieces if that's something that you're interested in.
Yeah. Also be mindful. We didn't fully really talk about it, but some armies really do need to be low drops in order to be successful. You need to be able to say, I'm taking first turn or not. When you're building your list out, it's something to be mindful of. Do you really need that second artifact? Or do you really need that extra primal dice? Or do you want to go first?
Yeah. And I personally feel if you're going to be more than 3 drops, you could be 11 drops. It doesn't matter at that point. Yeah. Because
I think that's fair.
So many armies are bringing in Dorian Acolytes for the extra primal dice that, like, you're either above 3 or you're 3 or you're more than 3. Those are the 3 big buckets.
And it's something too that I saw the message, and it's something that is also near and dear to my heart. I could probably do an episode of your show and my show and fill 2 hours on grand strategies. Just to touch really, really quickly, as brief as I can be, and I'm very long-winded, as you can tell by this sentence.
What?
So when you're doing it with list building too, and you're looking for your grand strategy, sometimes some of these grand strategies sound great on paper, but in practice are just so impractical because you have to understand that a whole game will be played by the time you're like, cool, do I have this? Some armies like Tzeentch, where again they score 13 points and they say have fun. It's as easy as cool. I rolled really well on my my fate dice before the game or whatever the hell they're called these days. I've been playing Tzeentch and Eldar in 40k, so it's like a similar enough name. But, you go get your
is it Tzeentch or is it Destiny or
Destiny dice? There
Destiny
we go.
Dice.
Yeah, so you get those and you save some. They reach a certain number and you're good, or you have so many and you're good. Some of them are really not interactive with your opponent. And if you in that competitive mindset, that is the goal.
Yeah.
What can I do where my whole army could be tabled, but I'm still scoring 3 points?
That is the magic right there. If you get a grand strat that you can get even if you're tabled.
All this plan, baby. We're Tzeentch. We're magic all up here. This is great. We got birds going, but that's it.
I had one for the Nurgle where I didn't take any trees in my list, and you just need to bank 9 points and summon a tree on turn 5.
Yeah.
There you go.
Tree summons are board wide, it turns out. You don't need a hero. You don't need anything on the table to summon a tree.
The closest I've been able to come to one of those sweet, non-attractive ones recently in my Slaves to Darkness arc has been the get a guy who's your general and spellcasting savant to apotheosis himself to a demon prince and then not be killable. But it is not an every game situation.
Yeah.
There's so many failed rolls on that I've seen with people. The trap for Beast of Chaos is the terrain, keeping your terrain alive and having somebody outside of 9, right? Like, that's the trap. Like, I don't know why anybody takes that still, because that's the first thing somebody with a monster is going to go to. And like,
they're gonna full send it.
Half of the armies that you go up against are going to have a monster in them, right?
Yeah.
So, and if they don't, they can probably summon them. So
and then you just give them 2 really good reasons to kick that thing over, as if the rend wasn't enough,
Dave had a good play with his Magister on disc, where it goes 21 inches and then summons the Lord of Change 12 inches past that, right next to the Hearthstone.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's so nice. You don't even think about it too, but you just said it, and I'm like, oh my god, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Now, like it doesn't always work, but when it does, oh my God.
Yeah. And again, these are things that for the listeners at home, you got to keep in mind. Grand strategies are for the end of the game. If you're like, cool, I want to be hold the high ground, which is the city's one, which is when the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if there are any friendly units within 12 of the center of the battlefield and no enemy units within 12 of the center of the battlefield. You better be bringing a list with the intent to kill everything in order for this thing to freaking happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So true.
That's not always going to happen. Sure, cities right now is in a very good spot, but if that boogeyman of the sort of Damocles ever drops and they drop the battle scroll, all of a sudden that's just not happening.
The other thing too with ones like that to think about is what if there's a big piece of terrain in the middle of the board?
Yeah.
Yep.
And you physically cannot get into the middle of the board.
Which is honestly great terrain design for boards too, because you don't want to fight in an open field. That's the old world. We're fighting in with 8 pieces of terrain scattered up, creating different kill lanes and maneuvers and different things to make Age of Sigmar fun, let alone to also be things that block line of sight for shooting, things that are impassable so you can't land flying units on the side of a brick of a wall and it's hanging there, even though it's a pie plate bigger than Miles's head. And you're just like, here we are.
Yep.
It adds extra dimensions to the game. And sometimes that's just not going to happen. And sometimes you have to take a riskier thing where like overshadow or even better if it's kill all the enemy wizards, because the risk that you could run in with that is the enemy's all wizards and you have to table them if they're Lumineth.
Yeah.
Or you're corn, you run into another corn. Cool, grand strategy's over.
Love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big swings there. It's true.
Yeah, and it's okay to take risks with that because sometimes you are in a bad spot.
Yeah, but I like your idea, your thought though there, Rocco, where we think of these grand strategies as the end of the game things, and they're not end of the game things. They're the entire length of the game. You need to be worried about that grand strategy because if you can get yours and deny theirs, that's a 6-point swing at the very end, and that can absolutely turn a loss into a win.
Yep.
It's a pretty huge thing. I mean, the number of games where that is the deciding factor, and the grand strategies like ease of access or luck-based, like swings. Terrible.
Yeah.
I remember I had at least one tournament game where I was using the sort of have to roll the 11 or 12 for Apotheosis, like Chaos one.
Yeah.
And I was in a position where I probably rolled like 10 times, 12 times in that table, and that was the game difference. I did not roll an 11 or 12. I lost by a point.
Yeah.
And really drives home that idea, like no uncertainty. Erase the uncertainty with these things if you can.
Yeah. Any other closing thoughts, boys?
Only that I know this was one segment of your pie, Rocco, in terms of wisdom in your corner, but I hope to hear more.
I hope to be here more.
We appreciate you coming on, and
thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for listening. It's always
Thank you, dear listener.
Go to Rocco's channel, like and subscribe, and we'll link it. Like and subscribe us too. And
if you're in such a mood, don't stop at any one of our channels. Do all of them. And Matt, you had one more channel to plug too, didn't you?
No, follow through is the key. That is actually the thing we're looking for.
Follow through very much is the key. But I'll pull a Miles. I think we've come to a good place.
We have come to a good place.
This is the good place. I love it.
So
hope they have fruit.
Finally,
got yogurt.
So now comes the time where we fight for the last word.
Oh no!
Yeah.
The strike last.
You come in first by coming in last.
As I look for the recording button to stop it,
he has
because
advantage here.
It always disappears.
Let's have me with a good shot.